16.5 Monopoly Regulation. This chapter covers types of government policy to control natural monopoly, that is, public ownership, regulation, and deregulation. Secondly, two theories on regulation, that is, social interest theory and capture theory. Third, efficient regulation of natural monopoly, that is, through marginal cost pricing, average cost pricing, and government subsidy. Two rules of average cost pricing, that is, price cap regulation and rate of return regulation. Dealing with a natural monopoly. Natural monopoly presents a dilemma. With economies of scale, a natural monopoly produces at the lowest possible cost. But with market power, the monopoly has an incentive to raise the power above the competitive price and produce too little to operate in the self-interest of the monopoly and not in the social interest. Policy towards monopolies depend crucially on whether or not the industry in question is a natural monopoly. If the industry is not a natural monopoly, the best policy is to prevent a monopoly from arising or break it up if it already exists. Government policy used to prevent or eliminate monopolies is known as antitrust policy. There are two types of government policies to control natural monopoly. Public ownership. In public ownership of a monopoly, the good is supplied by the government or by a firm owned by the government. Experiences suggest, however, that public ownership as a solution to the problem of natural monopoly often works badly in practice. One reason is that publicly owned firms are often less eager than private companies to keep costs down or offer high quality products. Another is that publicly owned companies all too often end up serving political interests, providing contracts or jobs to people with the right connections. Regulation. In the United States, the more common answer has been to leave the industry in private hands but subject it to regulation. In particular, most local utilities like electricity, telephone service, natural gas, and so on are covered by price regulation that limits the prices they can charge. Thus, we can define regulation as rules administered by a government agency to influence prices, quantities, entry, and other aspects of economic activity in a firm or industry. To implement regulation, the government establishes agencies to oversee and enforce the rules. For example, the Surface Transportation Board regulates prices on interstate railroads and some trucking and bus lines and water and oil pipelines. By the 1970s, almost a quarter of nation's output was produced by regulatory industries and a process of deregulation began. Deregulation is the process of removing regulation on prices, quantities, entry, and other aspects of economic activity in a firm or industry. During the past 30 years, deregulation has occurred in domestic air transportation, telephone service, interstate trucking and banking and financial services. Cable TV was deregulated in 1984, re-regulated in 1992, and deregulated again in 1996. There are two theories about how regulation actually works: the social interest theory and the capture theory. The social interest theory is that the political and regulatory process relentlessly seeks out inefficiently and introduces regulation that eliminates deadweight loss and allocates resources efficiently. The capture theory is that the political and regulatory process gets captured by the regulated firm and ends up serving its self-interest with maximum economic profit, underproduction, and deadweight loss. The regulator gets captured because producer's gain is large and visible, while each individual consumer's gain is small and invisible. No individual consumer has an incentive to oppose the regulation, but producer has a big incentive to lobby for it. Efficient regulation of a natural monopoly. A cable TV company is a natural monopoly. It can supply the entire market at a lower price than two or more competing firms can. Cox Communications, based in Atlanta, supplies cable TV to households in 16 states. It has invested heavily in satellite receiving dishes, cables, and control equipment, and so has large fixed costs. These fixed costs are part of the company's average total cost. Its average total cost decreases as the number of households served increases because the fixed cost is spread over a large number of households. Higher the low output, lower the fixed costs. Therefore, the ATC curve for natural monopoly is downward sloping instead of U-shaped ATC. For simplicity, we have assumed a constant marginal cost. Unregulated natural monopoly. In figure A, we know by application of the MR and MC rule that QM and PM are the profit maximizing output and price that an unregulated monopolist would choose. Because price exceeds average total cost at output QM, the monopolist enjoys a substantial economic profit. Furthermore, price exceeds marginal cost, indicating an underallocation of resources to this product or service. Consumer surplus is shown by the blue area. Regulated natural monopoly, that is MC and ATC pricing. The first one is marginal cost pricing, P is equal to MC. In figure B, if the government follows that marginal cost pricing, P is equal to MC, $10 to regulate natural monopoly, then the monopoly firm produces efficient quantity where marginal benefit equals marginal cost, that is 8 million households. Because ATC exceeds marginal cost at this price, cable TV company will incur loss per household as shown by arrow and will not stay in business for long. So you can see at 4 loss per household because ATC exceeds MC. So subsidy is needed for such firms which is running at loss from the government, which is again a burden on the government. The second type of pricing the government can adopt is average cost pricing, where P is equal to ATC. The average cost pricing rule sets price equal to average total cost to enable a regulated firm to avoid economic loss. With this rule, the firm produces the quantity at which ATC curve cuts the demand curve. You can see here in the picture. This rule results in the firm making zero economic profit or breaking even. But because for a natural monopoly, average total cost exceeds marginal cost, the quantity produced is less than the efficient quantity and deadweight loss arises. Subsidy is not required here. You can see the shaded area where deadweight loss occurs because the quantity produced is less than the allocatively efficient quantity of 8 million of households. Therefore, a deadweight loss arises in this one. But the price is, since the price covers ATC, you can see the price is set at 15, which covers ATC or the average total cost, so the firm makes a normal profit. So the figure illustrates the average total cost pricing. The price is $15 a month and 6 million households gets cable TV. The gray triangle shows the deadweight loss. There are two types of average cost pricing, or while practicing average cost pricing, regulators use one of the two practical rules. One is price cap regulation and another is rate of return regulation. Price cap regulation or price ceiling, a rule that specifies the highest price a firm is permitted to set or maximum price a firm can charge. This type of regulation lowers the price and gives the firm an incentive to minimize its cost and increase the quantity. In natural monopoly, a price ceiling increases output. The reason is that at regulated price, the firm can sell any quantity it chooses put to the quantity demanded. Any quantity it chooses, so each additional unit sold brings in the same additional revenue. That is, MR is equal to P here. The regulated price exceeds marginal cost. So the profit maximizing quantity becomes the quantity demanded at the price ceiling. So in the figure, you can see they illustrate this output. The price cap or the price ceiling is at $15. Unregulated, a cable TV operator maximizes profit by serving 4 million households at a price of $20 a month. With the price cap set at $15 a month, the firm is permitted to sell any quantity it chooses at that price or at a lower price. The profit maximizing quantity now increases to 6 million households. Serving fewer than 6 million households, the firm incurs a loss. Average total cost exceeds the price cap, you can see here, if he produces below 6 million, and if he serving more than 6 million households is possible, but only by lowering the price along the demand curve, which you can see in the picture. So again, ATC exceeds price and the firm incurs a loss. In practice, regulator might set up the cap too high. For this reason, price cap regulation is often combined with earnings sharing regulation, a regulation that requires firms to make refunds to customers when profits rise above a target level. Rate of return regulation. Under rate of return regulation, regulators set limit on what monopoly company can earn from consumers. They set allowed rate of return and select prices that generate that return. The underlying idea is the firm's revenue must just equal its cost so that economic profit is zero. Prices are revenue based on operating costs plus fair rate of return on capital. Company is allowed to recover the operating cost incurred and an agreed reasonable returns on capital investment. Primary objective is to limit profit, prevent companies from pricing above costs. Government subsidy. A government subsidy is a direct payment to the firm equal to its economic loss in a regulated monopoly. But to pay a subsidy, the government must raise the revenue by taxing some other activity. Taxes themselves generate deadweight loss. So since average cost pricing is known as fair return price of a monopolist is the best option as it creates smaller deadweight loss compared to government subsidy, which generates deadweight loss in the market for the items that are taxed to pay the subsidy. Therefore, average cost pricing is preferred over subsidy.